Welcome to the conversation on the TYT Network. We've got a character for you guys now. Joe Walsh, former U.S. Congressman, now doing a podcast called, well, let's just say F Silence. Also doing a radio show on the Gab Radio Network, the Joe Walsh Radio Show. I ran against Donald Trump in the Republican primary briefly. Joe, welcome back to the Young Turks.
Hey, Cenk, I'm a fan of what you do. It's good to be with you, man.
All right. So, Joe, you are a character, and you've had some twists and turns in your career.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about why you turned on Trump. Before the election, you said if Trump loses, grab your musket. It's got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And now you're so disenchanted with him that you ran against him. So let's start with the obvious question. What happened?
Look, hey, Cenk, and again, good to be with you. I didn't love Trump or like him that much in 2016. He wasn't Hillary Clinton, so like a lot of Republicans, it was an easy vote for me. I am guilty, though, Cenk, of not paying attention to him. I swear to God, I didn't vote for him in the Republican primary. I voted for Rand Paul. I just figured Trump's a goof. Maybe he'll appoint a few good people. Maybe a couple good things might happen. But bad on me. I didn't pay attention to him. I didn't realize what a horrible human being he is. And what turned, when I began to pay attention to him after he won, every time he opens his mouth, he lies. I can't accept that in a president. Final straw from me, Cenk, was Helsinki of 2018, when this bastard stood in front of the world and said, I'm with Putin and not my own people. That was the greatest act of disloyalty I've ever seen in a president. From that point forward, I was actively working against him.
So, Joe, when you were in Congress, you were considered one of the most conservative Congress people.
Yeah.
So a lot of conservatives think, well, look, Trump runs his mouth too much, and I wish he wouldn't say all those things on Twitter. But at the end of the day, he's appointing the right judges. He's owning the libs. He's, passing the things that we want. So who cares? Well, what do you say to that?
Well, there are some things more important than issues. So even if he were a conservative president and he's given me a bunch of conservative policy, I still couldn't support him, Cenk, because, look, he obstructed justice. He welcomed Russian interference in our election. He lies every time he opens his mouth, and he should have been impeached. He pressured a foreign government to help him cheat in our elections. Those things are more important to me than issues. But even on the conservative stuff, Cenk, I don't think he's delivered. Sure, a few judges. His trade policy sucks. That's not conservative. That tax bill he passed a couple of years ago was just a giveaway to the rich. I think he's horrible on the border. So I don't think he's delivered. Oh, and by the way, on the debt, before the pandemic, he increased and was increasing the deficit and the debt way faster than Obama did.
But Joe, when you look at that, that's the case for the Republican Party of my lifetime. Talking about, oh my God, the debt.
Yeah.
And every time they get into office, giant tax cuts for the rich, drive up the deficits. So Reagan did it. George W. Bush did it. So Trump's not new in that sense. And yeah, he lies more than the average politician, but politicians lie, right? So I think a lot of progressives would look at it and go, Joe, welcome to the party. You're a little late. And you're not, and I don't mean that in the sense of a political party, because you're still a conservative, but aren't those critiques of conservatives overall fair points?
Yes. And Cenk, I went to Congress in 2010, part of that Tea Party class. I was more pissed off at Republicans than Democrats for the debt. I was pissed off at George W. Bush. I mean, the Tea Party started in reaction to Bush and all of his debt. So, yeah, a pox on both their houses. I don't think either party cares about the debt. But we have, I believe, Cenk, a unique threat in the White House. This guy is an existential threat. We've seen it in the last couple of days. He is an authoritarian. That's more important to me than any policy issue.
Yeah, look, we're in a unique situation because neither one of us is part of the mainstream.
True.
And so, all they do is play party politics. So everybody on the left has to pretend not everybody on the left, but at least everybody in the Democratic Party and their media enablers have to pretend that Joe Biden is amazing and he's always had the great policies and he was great on civil rights. None of that is really true. But it is true that at least he does believe in democracy and our form of government. To me, yeah, Trump's a pathological liar, pathological narcissist. All those things are horrible, racist. You name it, he's done it. He is that. But I think the biggest threat is, I think he would end this form of government if given an opportunity. And if he gets another 4 years unchecked, I think he's got that opportunity.
Imagine, Cenk, what he would do if he's reelected. Look, the Republican Party didn't like me when I was in Congress. If you were in Congress, you would be the biggest thorn in the backside of the Democratic Party, and I think that's a good thing. Donald Trump is everything our founders feared, Cenk. He's unfit. I wrote a book called F Silence, calling Trump out. He's unfit because he can't tell the truth, and he's incapable of putting the country's interests before his own. All he cares about is himself. If he's reelected, forget every one of our norms and institutions.
So, Joe, you're going to try to do a conservative talk show that is against Trump in this era. Well, so I got to ask, what do you think is the state of conservatives in the Republican Party now? Do you think that you got a chance at people welcoming you in and going, oh, that's an interesting perspective, or is there going to be rage against you?
So two things, Cenk. I think the Republican Party's done. It is a cult. I ran into that cult when I tried to primary Trump. I think the Republican Party is breaking up before our eyes. I am committed, not because like you, not because I love Joe Biden. I'm dedicating this year to trying to find as many disaffected Republicans to vote for Biden. I'll tell you one thing, Cenk, as I was out campaigning in Iowa and New Hampshire, I heard from a lot of Republicans who said privately to me, hey, Joe, I like some of the things Trump's done, but I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted with the Trump show. I think you're going to see more and more of that come out now week by week here.
Yeah, so Joe, look, they saw the racism and they stuck with him. Historically, through his first term, he's had about 90% of Republican voters on his side. I think he's now down to 85% of Republicans supporting him, but that's still a giant number. So they saw the racism, they saw the lies, they saw the authoritarian nature, etc., and they still stuck with him. So do you think there's anything that could get them to go, you know what? Maybe we got to rethink this guy.
Yeah, and Cenk, I think you saw it with the pandemic, with the virus. Trump's numbers among older Americans, and that's been his strength, is down. And I think because older Americans are scared. It's one thing for Trump to lie about how much money he's got or whatever, but when he lies to the American people about a virus that kills the American people, that's going to hurt him. And I think it's hurting him among older Americans as well.
Yeah, well, look, that's not just anecdotal. The numbers back that up.
Yeah.
For 65-year-olds and above, in the 2016 election, he won them by 13 points against Hillary Clinton. And now, with that same demographic, he's underwater by 15 points. So that's a gigantic 28-point swing with people who vote the most in this country.
Forget about it. And you're right, Cenk. If he loses them, it doesn't matter what Biden does. He's done.
Yeah. And Joe, do you think that's going to bleed over to the rest of the Republican Party? The Republican Party is clearly now seen as the one pushing to reopen the economy. And they had so many people like the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, you name it, Hannity, all of them come out and say, no, we got to open it up. And literally at times say, even if it means that it kills some older Americans. And when that's your most loyal voting base, was that just about as disastrous a political strategy as they could have possibly had?
Yeah, look, I say this as a member of the conservative media. Watching Fox News can and will get you killed. I think Republicans are going to lose the Senate. I think all of these Republicans who have enabled this lawless individual in the White House, I think they're going to lose. McSally in Arizona, I think they're going to lose. I think the Democrats will. I think you're going to see, Cenk, a landslide. I mean, 2018 was a referendum on Trump, and Republicans got spanked.
Obviously, minus all the things we talked about, the lying, etc. What do you want the next conservative party, whether it's the Republican Party that's reformed or anything else, to look like?
I want it, Cenk, to be a center-right party, but I want it to be decent. I want it to be tolerant. I want it to open up its arms to people from all over the world as long as they come here legally. I think that is a long time coming, Cenk, because I think Republicans are going to be in the wilderness for a long time.
Joe Walsh, former congressman, and he's got the book F Silence, and he's got the F Silence podcast, and now the Joe Walsh radio show on the Gab Radio Network. Joe, thanks for joining us on the Young Turks. Appreciate it.
Hey, Cenk, always a pleasure, man. Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.